Welcome to Cinemagna. In today's video, we will showcase the behind the scenes of the 2022 erotic psychological thriller film titled Deep Water. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel to be notified when new videos are released. Deep Water is a forthcoming erotic psychological thriller film directed by Adrian Lyne from a script by Helm and Sam Levinson. It is based on Patricia Highsmith's 1957 novel of the same name. The film is starring Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, with Tracy Letts, Lil Rel Howery, Mihok, Wittrock, Kristen Connolly, Elordi and Rachel Blanchard appearing in supporting roles. This film marks Adrian Lyne's return to filmmaking after a 20-year hiatus since his last feature, Unfaithful, which released in 2002. Deep Water is set to premiere on Hulu on March 18, 2022. Without much further ado, please enjoy the behind-the-scenes video.
What is he? There, those are taken.
Michael? Ready?
Yes, sir.
I think we should do the other one. We'll do this one.
Hold on.
Action, Tracy! Yeah, sweetheart, mind you, give Mark. We have to do that, right? Thank
you. Congratulations. Yes, thank you.
Hope nobody saw this. Hope nobody saw this.
Nobody's here, right? No one knows anything. And camera. Cutting. Good. They should have an ready? And action. Okay, so you're feeling good. Okay. That's me.
There could be a trend.
You know, the best bet on a movie being good is working with a good director. And so Adrian was someone I wanted to work with, reached out to me, sent me this script. I said I heard it was based on a novel by Patricia Highsmith. I read the novel and the adaptation, and it was, you know, really interesting, and a really interesting, dark, provocative exploration of a side of the human mind that we don't often see explored. It's one of the things that's really interesting about Adrian. He's a brave filmmaker, and he's interested in sort of the part of it's like, you know, he's interested in the human sexuality, he's interested in the psychology of human beings and the way we present ourselves versus sometimes who people really are and what they really want, and putting those things next to each other. And all his movies, whether it's Fatal Attraction or Indecent Proposal, I mean, you see that same tension, you know. He's gonna, you know, sleep with my wife for $1 million. Like, if he's one of these provocative dinner table sort of, would you ever agree to this thing? And he puts it in practice. And in this case, it's really a movie about, you know, on some level about, like, you know, jealousy and ways in which it fuels relationships and ways in which it destroys them. And it's about, like, what is the nature of a happy relationship, a real loving relationship? How dark do you go? If you go down certain roads, you kind of can't turn back. And I thought that was fascinating. And I got the script, and I loved it, and I signed on with him. And Arnon Milchan, who produced the movie at Regency, is a guy known for a long, long time and did Gone Girl with, and so I was very excited. Yeah, there's an interesting theme in the movie that seemed to me to suggest that marriages kind of have inherent bargains or contracts that are made between partners. Sort of, you can do this and I get this and this is what I get out of it, and that there's a kind of symbiotic relationship that exists on some level. And we've all heard of extreme stories where there are people who have open marriages. Maybe that's not even extreme. Just we have an open marriage, or we have a, in this marriage, our rules are like, the wife works, the husband stays home, he takes care of the house, whatever it may be. And that's a healthy, good thing, right? If you can find a balance, hey, this works for me, this works for you, and you're upfront about it, I think that's great. This is an example of a kind of contract that's an unspoken contract in a marriage. The sort of arrangements that happen that the couples are afraid to really say out loud to one another, and so they sort of begin to exist these parallel realities. What they say to each other, the married couple, and what really the exchange is beneath the surface. And that is dangerous because the deals are unspoken, that one party can ask for and pull for more, and maybe they're pulling on something that is simultaneously something that one of the others wants but is afraid of, or wants but is also creating something really dangerous and unhealthy in them. And in this case, I think the theme, a part of it is about how this couple goes down this road in order to sort of fix and solve their marriage. They start to play with fire. And eventually, get burned. And one of the nice things I like about Adrian and his movies is that, I love this, is like there's no simple answer. They don't look it up and go, he wants this, you want that. This is the answer, here's, the movie goes A, B, C, and it's all neatly tied up. The characters are complicated. They're not totally self-aware, and the movie doesn't try to explain everything. It just sort of presents this vision of a marriage, a part of a story of this marriage, and sort of draws you in because you kind of go, yeah, I can see why he would do that, then I can see why he would do that, then I can see why he would do that, and finds this character, both of these characters, in very different, extreme, dramatic situations by the end based on their choices, which are hopefully, I think, at least in my sense, grounded in something that you could identify with and understand. And it's that is the way that's why Adrian's on a tour. Adrian kind of has a vision of humanity, has a way of exploring it. He does challenge gender roles. In some ways he goes more extreme in the direction of stereotypes. In some ways he goes more extreme in subverting the stereotypes. Because what he really seems to want to do is sort of like take a poker at the underbelly of who people really are, kind of in the id. You know what I mean? Rather than the superego that just sort of manages and controls us. Vic is a guy who is got the mind of an engineer. So people I know like that are they tend to be sort of black and white, technically focused, a little bit more separated emotionally, more cerebral, a little more distanced from their emotions. And I sort of thought of him as like really rooted in the front brain and not at all in touch with like how he felt at all. So sometimes his actions would be foreign to him, and his reactions surprising to him, and not what he expected or wanted, or even surprised to feel anything at all. And I know people like this, and I did a lot of reading and studying about like there is a kind of personality which is very separated from and very distant and kind of a classic sort of, there are all kinds of diagnoses and pathologies, but really it's about somebody who thinks he's very intelligent and technical and specific and focused on certain things like his snail collection and the technology he's developed and his interests, and not able at all to have emotional intelligence so that he can communicate with his wife, even though he's highly intelligent in a different way. And I think it's interesting to play a character who's really unintelligent emotionally and very intelligent intellectually. This is the fact, the sort of dialectic, the reality that dialectic can exist. They start off being these people that we sort of understand as relatively okay. He's this guy, he retired, he's got a lot of money, got this beautiful wife, she's a little bit bored, he's emotionally inaccessible, they have a kid, they're trying to have this marriage and make it work, and they've hit this kind of patch that's hard. And then the movie just digs deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and the things you discover about them are not always great, but they do reflect, I think, a realistic look at one possibility of where human relationships can go.
Melinda, it's a little hard to describe for me because she's full of contrast. On one side, you have this woman who's a good mom, who's full of energy, with so much love to give and excited about living life to the fullest. And on the other hand, you have someone who's deeply unhappy in her marriage. She's frustrated. She doesn't feel understood. And, you know, she's angry because she doesn't have the life she expected. And, you know, she wants more. And she would do anything to change that. And this is a character that, you know, gave me the chance to work with lots of colors and be opened with my performance, because she goes from being really strong and in control to very vulnerable and reckless. So, you know, as a character that's completely different from who I am. And as an actor, you know, it's always, you know, a very appealing challenge to take on. So I for sure embody her. To embody her was a lot of fun. Well, the preparation always starts with the material, the script, and in this case also Patricia Highsmith's brilliant book. So I got to know this character first through these texts, and then of course I started, you know, working deeper with Adrian just to help bring her to life. I mean, obviously, you know, Patricia Highsmith is one of the best writers ever in this genre, and I think, you know, she wrote really complex female characters, and it speaks to how ahead of her time she was, that the character I play, Melinda, you know, this woman translates so beautifully from 1957 when the book was written to 2022. To me, suspense and intrigue and murder, revenge are all themes that I really enjoy watching. I mean, you know, I just love the complexity of the stories and the characters, and of course the surprises and all of that. Probably some of my favorite films of all times are thrillers. I did not know how to play the piano, but it was really a lot of fun, and of course, you know, for sure a challenge for me to learn how to play and sing that song. But I had a lot of fun filming that scene in particular, because I thought it was a really important scene for the character, because you can see how she's, you know, is another example of that cry for attention, and what she's doing. You know, it gave me the chance to get just above and beyond in this scene, and you will realize that this is something that Melinda does a lot in the movie, and it's nothing else but, you know, trying to get her husband's attention and trying to maybe spark that, you know, intimacy again, and that romantic connection that they had once. Well, New Orleans is just an incredible city. I mean, I don't need to talk about the food and the architecture and the music. It's all delicious and unique, but also, you know, I love the people. Probably most of our crew was from New Orleans, and they were just incredible. We also shot in this beautiful, big, you know, historic house in the Garden District that I don't think we would have found something so special anywhere else. And that house in particular is just so, you know, it's such a distinctive element in the movie, and how it plays to, you know, telling the story of this family.
I was very interested in the script and where the script came from, and I knew a little bit about Patricia Highsmith, mostly from the Talented Mr. Ripley books. So that plus Adrian and him sort of coming back on the scene after all these years was very exciting. And then, of course, to work with Ben and Anna was, I mean, I would do anything to work with them. So it was kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. Yes, it's very interesting to read the novel and then see the movie and see what what they changed and what they kept the same, and especially the ending. It's really worth it to read the book because it really goes in a different direction than the film does, and it's very also period. That's the thing. I think smartly the screenwriters made the movie modern, but the book is really fun to read in terms of like, I think it's 60s, like early 60s, like lots of highballs and cigarettes and waking up hungover, and like you can sort of smell the smoke in the room. So yeah, it gives a really nice insight into the general idea. But the movie is definitely like its own self-contained thing. I think they really did a great job of modernizing it and keeping the soul of it, but messing with it in a good way. I love New Orleans. It's what I've filmed there for some reason like 5 different times, so I feel like it's my second home. It's like my filming home. It's a very fun city. Can be too much fun. It can eat you up, but I love it there. And I really liked it for the film too. The kind of, because like it is in the book. There's sort of this. Lots of social gatherings happening and people that are always sort of in the same community. And that does happen in New Orleans. Like there are these social groups that like meet and have costume parties and have live music. Like there's like old traditions that still stick around there that I think really worked for the film. It's jealousy, but it's also like, who are you? It's like, who is the person who you are spending every waking moment with? Like, how do you really know what's underneath their skin? Like, you can never really know. He had so much care about the details, the look and the feel, and it was like a sensibility of a different time. Like I think it was like only 20 years ago that he made a movie, but movies were different then, and there's a lot of like he really took his time, and it wasn't like shoot and go. It was like, that was good. Let's try it again. Let's try it this way. That's he really like he wanted to create more room for it to go deeper and deeper every take. I just know it was always like less, just do less, which is hard sometimes. But like it's a good note from me coming from the theater. Like less is more. Yeah, it was just a cool. It was like cool to just sort of watch the legend work, Tony and Melinda. Well, I think that they were a fling like in college. That was sort of what we decided a while ago, and then, Tony fell in love with traveling and the environment and like outreach, and so I think he just sort of moved on, and I think it was amicable, but I think that he did break up with her, and I think that's a rare thing. Like she has her way with someone and then leaves on her own terms most of the time. And so I think the fact that it's briefly mentioned, but the fact that she says, "Oh, Tony broke up with me," is like a thing that kind of maybe sticks with her still, like trying to kind of regain that in some way. And I think it probably hits Vic a little differently too. Like, oh, this is not a guy that you just threw away. Like he left you. So what does that mean?
I thought the idea that there'll be a complicity between these people, a kind of a sexual complicity, where, for example, at the beginning of the movie, he's wandering around looking for her and her boyfriend, Joel. And he's looking in at the party and she's disappeared outside, and he goes to a window and he sees her and the boyfriend making out. And there's a moment when she looks up to the window and she sort of knows that he's going to be watching. And it's a very bizarre and interesting moment, I think. And what's interesting on top of that is that rather than looking away and being embarrassed that she had been caught out by her husband, she turns back to the boy as if nothing has happened. So you get right from the off in the film, you get a sense that she's almost doing it for his benefit as well, which is sort of unusual. I enjoyed working with Janine enormously, Janine Opperwall. And we went to this house, and I love the floorboards. It's a bizarre thing to say, but what was great was that there was no carpets in this place. There was just these lovely floorboards. So I sort of chose the location because of the floorboards. And we didn't put any carpets down. I just thought it was sort of, as a look, I thought it was interesting. It had a great staircase, an outside staircase, sort of where at the beginning of the movie, she goes up the entire staircase and turns right, and he goes halfway up the staircase and turns left. So you have a distinct feeling that they're living in different parts of the house. So I loved that staircase. I loved it. The fact that it did say that they were living separately. I didn't want to do all of the sort of traditional New Orleans stuff, the funeral processions and a lot of. Although I did shoot a little bit in the French Quarter, I didn't want to beat it over the head. So that was something that was important for me, that it didn't become a kind of a tourist guide for New Orleans. Although I hope you get a taste for it. I mean, I like the bridge, for example, at the beginning. There's I don't know what the name of the bridge is, but it's terrific, and it's going over the river, so you get a sense of deep water, if you like, at the beginning of the movie. You know, there's a nice sort of, well, it's a drone shot, you know, coming upwards. It just moves upwards. I mean, Ben's a terrific actor. What I liked was his willingness to play somebody who was, unlike, you know, normally I see him as sort of ebullient and outgoing, and he was prepared for me to make this guy sort of a fairly introvert guy who's vulnerable and still and different really from a lot of the parts that he had played previously. And I thought it was very brave of him to do that. At times he said to me, it's not in my DNA, this is to do this. But it was, and I think I'm really proud of him. All I really like after a film is that I've made is that they will discuss it, that they won't necessarily agree, but I love the fact that they won't forget it by the next day, you know, or by dinner or whatever. And I've been lucky because I made a few movies where that's happened. You know, they're still talking about Fatal Attraction now, for example, I don't know, 9.5 weeks. So I've got lucky, and I hope that'll be the case with this, because I think it's very eccentric, the movie, and I feel lucky to have made it, you know, because it is weird. I mean, it is weird. And that's good.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and comment on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when new videos are released.